हेलो फ्रेंड्स, नमस्कार। मैं हूं योगेंद्र, आपका साथी, आपका दोस्त, और आपका स्वागत है आज के स्पेशल संडे सेशन में। फ्रेंड्स, सेशन स्टार्ट करने से पहले आई वुड लाइक टू विश यू ऑल हैप्पी फ्रेंडशिप डे। As you all know, the first Sunday of August month is celebrated as Friendship Day, and a friend is very important in human life. And I have remembered, and today morning I have read Shakespeare's famous poem Faithful Friends, and Tulsidas fine explanation of good friends and false friends in his famous epic the Ramcharitmanas. And after all, now in this session I'll be talking about fourth unit, that is non-fictional prose. So in this video I will not discuss whole the segment whole unit, that is non-fictional prose, because there are several things, several segments. So in this video I will be talking only about essay and its history. But before knowing the history, before knowing the essay, we should understand what non-fiction is. So first of all, we should see the definition of non-fiction here. According to dictionarycambridge.org, this is the website of Cambridge Dictionary, and according to this dictionary, non-fiction is writing that is about real events and facts rather than stories that have been invented. So non-fiction is simply a writing as a representation of truth. So commonly non-fiction includes explanatory, argumentative, functional, and opinion pieces, essays on art and literature, biographies, memoirs, journalism, and historical, scientific, technical, or economic writings, travel books, diaries, etc. So all these forms of writing is known as non-fiction, and in this unit 4 we have to study all these forms of writings. So first of all, we are going to discuss essay. What is essay? According to M.H. Abrams, any short composition in prose that undertakes to discuss a matter, express a point of view, persuade us to accept a thesis on any subject, or simply entertain. An essay is usually a prose genre with few poetic expressions like Pope's moral essays, but this verse or poetic essay is not prominent. An essay is one of the most flexible and adaptable of all literary forms. It is it is flexible in length from few hundred words, that is essays of Bacon, and to a book length. Several essays are in book length. So now move to next thing, that is here the second thing is it is differ from treatise and dissertation. Treatise and dissertation and essay are different things. So what is the difference between essay and treatise and dissertation? It differs from a treatise and dissertation in its lack of pretension to be a systematic and complete exposition, and in being addressed to a general rather than a specialized audience. As a consequence, the essay discusses its subject in non-technical fashion and often with a liberal use of such devices as anecdote, striking illustration and humor to augment its appeal. Now, essays formal and informal. There is distinction between a formal and informal essays. Formal essay, a formal essay or an article is relatively impersonal. Here the author writes as an authority or at least as highly knowledgeable and expounds the subject in an orderly way. For example, essays, papers, and articles in scholarly journals and articles on current topics and issues in magazines. And next one is that is informal essay. In such essays, the writer assumes to a tone of intimacy with his audience, tends to deal with everyday things rather than with public affairs or specialized topics, and writes in a relaxed, self-revelatory and sometimes whimsical fashion. So, informal essays are personal and formal essays are impersonal essays. Now, what is the history of essays? Come to this point. First of all, I would like to mention that the word essay, genre essay, came to known from the French writer's work essays. The writer is Montaigne. Means when in 1580 Montaigne, the French writer, published his work essays, the term, the genre came in existence, but the writing of essays was existed long before. The works of Theophrastus, Plutarch, Cicero, Seneca, etc. These were writers of essays before Montaigne. So, when essay came in English, it was copied from, it means essay. Essay was copied from Montaigne into English by Bacon. In the late 16th century, here is the inauguration of essay in English. In the early 18th century, Pope wrote verse essays like Essay on Criticism in 1711 and Essay on Man in 1733. In this same period, Addison and Steele started Tatler and Spectator periodicals. Several other periodicals were published during this during this period, and in that particular 18th century, English essay was very famous and periodicals were very famous. So, we came to 19th century. In the early 19th century, essay became a very famous and dominant form of literature. The major essayists of this period were William Hazlitt, Thomas De Quincey, and Charles Lamb. And in the later part of century, there were R.L. Stevenson, very famous essayist. There were several famous writers of essays in America during the 19th century, like Washington Irving, Emerson, Thoreau, James Russell Lowell, and Mark Twain. During the modern, postmodern age, and even in present days, essay remain important. There are several important writers like Virginia Woolf, George Orwell, E.M. Foster, James Turber, E.B. White, James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, Adam Gopkin, Adam Gopnik, John Deegan, and Oliver Sacks. These are very important and famous writers of essays of the 20th century, early 20th century. And here I am ending this session, this video. And in next videos, I'll be talking about biographies, autobiographies, diaries, and other forms of non-fictional prose. And I will give you a separate video on important essays, means which important essays you have to study. I will make a separate video on it. Keep on watching and keep studying. Thank you. All the best.